I would like to welcome a key person onto the stage, a role model in herself by being the first female to lead global production at a major music publishing company. Welcome Jane Carter, president of Universal Production Music. Thank you. So you've been listening to the panels. Did you learn anything new from the panelists today?
Well, I feel 100% more responsible than I did 2 hours ago. There's one thing that's screaming at me, and that's confidence. I think when I hear everybody talk and things that we've done these panels in America as well, and we've talked to people in the UK, and it sounds to me like our female and women colleagues, both in the business side and from the composer side and the producer side, lack confidence. And so in the position that I'm in, we need to find a way of, helping that confidence. But I think that comes from way back. So I know one of you said, or maybe you said, it comes from our parents and our upbringing. It comes from education. There are some, I go into some universities, I don't do it as much now, but my colleague Jeff does as well. And we go into the Royal College of Music to talk to film and composition students who are in their final year. And when I used to go in, probably one person was a woman and the rest were men. And, so it stems further back than that, than being sort of 20 years old. And also, I have a lot of friends now who have children. They have colleagues that have children. They meet their friends and their friend says, oh, my friend's a president of Universal Production Music. Go and talk to her about becoming a composer. And I think every single one of those has been a guy. I haven't had any daughters of anybody coming in, and I'm not really sure why that is. And it is our job, the people here in the room and others like me, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, is to help give you the confidence, because you're super talented, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be working with us.
What did you recognize in these women's experiences? You've been in the music business for a long time.
I have been in it for a long time, and so my experience is slightly different. I entered the industry in, over 30 years ago, and I got in from doing work experience and hounding my oboe teacher because he had a friend who was a marketing manager at the London Symphony Orchestra, and I badgered them and wrote to them and got a week's work experience. And after doing that, I never let go. I went back and finished my final year, and I worked for them for free. I did odd jobbing, I did running, I did absolutely anything I could to eventually go to the dizzy heights of becoming a receptionist, which was, with a degree, was like, really? Is that what's happened? But, and so my opposite experience to you all is that actually I found senior women more of a problem for me. So back then it was quite a bitchy atmosphere with senior women. They were, I don't know whether they were worried about younger women coming into the industry. But yeah, I definitely had 2 examples of women sort of stopping my career progressing. And that happened in 2 different companies, both big companies. And I mean, people in this room might tell me otherwise, but I don't see that anymore. And I hope now I'm in a position where I'm in that none of my senior female colleagues would ever do that, and they would encourage the female people to come through. So that's a change which you probably wouldn't expect me to say. When I was actually in my 20s and 30s, at the time, it never occurred to me that all my senior colleagues were men. I just did my job, and I was a fighter. I came from the north of England, from a working class family. I didn't have relatives that worked in the industry at all. I just had to get on with it. And I think somebody said that women say yes to everything and they never just do their job description. Well, that's absolutely me. But I think people should, do that, because you get on if you do that. Even if you're a guy, I think you should absolutely do that. And I looked around. I didn't look around me and think, oh, I'm not going to progress in this world because I'm a woman. It didn't occur to me. But now you've sort of brought this up and we're having the discussion. all the marketing assistants and press assistants were women, and all the secretaries and receptionists, and all the managers and the CEOs were men. You know, but now where I sit, that doesn't seem to be the case. You know, but this is the first woman, Jodie Gerson, that I have worked for. Prior to this, everybody has been male, and that is a difference. And I think at Universal, I do think it makes a difference because she is a female leader.
In what sense?
She just has a different sort of compassion for the company. I can only talk about really my personal experience, but she's incredibly supportive. She listens. And that, I would say, that's quite different from previous male bosses I've had. They've been quite aggressive in their approach, and this is what they want to do. Whereas she definitely is somebody that listens, and listening is one of the most important things in all our jobs, in role models or leading a company or managing. You know, if we didn't listen to our teams and our colleagues, if I didn't listen to my team, you know, we would not be doing this event today.
Mm. Why do you think it's important to have more female writers and producers in the industry?
Well, why not? It shouldn't really be a question. You know, and I mean, this happened in sort of 2018 when this sort of project came to fruition, or certainly a seed was sown, was we looked at how many writers we had in the UK who had been contracted that year. And we'd contracted about 250 writers. And out of the 250, there were only 5 women. And that's just not right. You know, and in other jobs that I've done in my career, I've worked a lot with orchestral recording. And those orchestras have really changed over the years that I've worked. So in the 90s, it was definitely, you know, almost 100% men in those orchestras. And when I worked with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra in 2003, the women in there, they didn't even have separate changing rooms. They just had a little curtain in the green room to change behind, which you can't believe it now. And I can remember talking to the board at the time we were doing a recording about why aren't there more women, you know, performers in the orchestra. And classically, the men said, because it will completely change the sound. And of course it will change the sound, though, because, you know, female violinists sound different to male violinists, and that's a good thing, you know. But the arrogance of that was shocking, actually. And it pleases me now. You know, I'm obsessed when I go to an orchestral concert, and we've just had the prom season in London, so I've been to a lot. I mean, I'm literally counting, and I can see it's almost 50-50 in some of the orchestras, women to men, which is a great result. Mm.
Can you tell us a bit about the 100% HER project and how it can help female and non-binary writers and producers?
Yeah, of course. I mean, going back to the fact that, you know, I think it was Kelly that said you haven't got producers knocking on your door, you don't know where they are. And really what 100% HER is about is us at Universal saying to composers and producers, we're here and we're opening the door, and you know, we're letting them in. But we, in order to do that, it started with a sort of a competition almost of inviting female writers to write a track for an album. And we got a lot of people writing in, and it was a good door opener, but we wanted to do more. And as the years have gone on, we're now doing mentorship schemes. There's one happening in London next week, actually. And that's because we want to give people confidence. So we're giving confidence to those female writers to come in and work together. And it's very important that we do that. And that's really the essence of 100% HER. I would love it to grow and grow and grow. It started with a competition with one album. All our repertoire territories in the company have now taken on 100% HER. So that's here in the Nordics, that's the US, that's in France, and that's in the UK. And we're doing mentorship schemes. The world's our oyster. You know, we can have the Oscars. I mean, who knows? It can just go on and on.
But have you seen any progress or any results?
Well, we've got fantastic music. We're absolutely fantastic music. And, you know, one of the other kind of shocks in 2018 when I joined the company, we looked at our writers, and I said, you know, what are our top selling tracks in the catalogue? And somebody told me the track and said, oh, it's been written by Magnum Opus. And I said, who the hell's Magnum? Who's that? And they said, oh, it's a female writer, but working under a male pseudonym. You know,
That's awful.
So we just don't want that to happen anymore. So I don't know of that happening since, but I surely don't want it to happen again.
But so, what are the challenges with like a gender-exclusive project like this?
Well, the challenges are we forget about all the guys. You know, I think it's very hard when you do something like this, and we talked about this, that some women don't want to be isolated as being part of 100% her project, and they're maybe shy and don't really want to be involved in something like that. So those that do can be involved and will hopefully help those people come through. But I was at the Women in Music Awards last year, and somebody got up to receive an award, and she said, "I really wish this was called the People in Music Award," and that's really my belief. We have a lot of fantastic men in our company. You know, Jeff Cox, who I mentioned earlier, you know, is very much part of our 100% Her campaign. And it's got to be inclusive, but we're not obviously ready yet as a society. So this is why we're doing 100% Her to help encourage that.
We were talking a bit earlier, and you mentioned some statistics. Like, how does it look in your catalog now with male, female ratio?
Well, it's getting much, much better after the work. I mean, this really started in 2019, and then I think it was 10% of our tracks involved female writers, and now in the 2022 stats, it's gone up to 25%, and that's in the UK. So we've made a lot of progress. You know, we have 630,000 tracks in our catalogue, and we make music every single year. So we're a perfect place to set an example for other companies and, you know, other you know, the record companies, the publishing companies. We do have that opportunity in production music to really lead the way, because we do make a lot of music every year.
Do you have like a goal, a percentage goal that you'd like to reach? Do you set like a goal per year of how much you'd like the percentage to rise?
We haven't set a goal. We hadn't set a goal, but seeing those stats from the UK, you know, I'd love it to be 50-50, but I'm not going to hold on to that stat. I just want to encourage the right, you know, very talented composers into the company, and I really hope, you know, a lot of those are female. Yeah.
In the panels, we talked about quotas, we talked about self-doubt, external validation of skill. Is that something you can relate to in any point in your career?
Yeah, I think there'd be something wrong with you if you didn't at some point, you know, think, am I doing the right thing? And, oh, how did I get here? And I do that all the time. It's a bit like the adrenaline before you perform. You know, you want to have a few nerves because that makes you perform well. But I was very lucky that I had an incredible mentor when I was at university. And I didn't realize it at the time, but he was very much somebody that just said, you can do anything, just do it. And it was a small university, and I was a big fish in a small pond. And so it was lucky that there's something like 10% of our degree went towards doing new projects. And so we could really, it was like a massive playground and sandpit. And I think because I could try and test things in that environment, it did give me the confidence that even if you don't know what you're doing, you know, you can give it a really good stab. And if you've got a great team around you, people will help you, which I think is the most important thing. You know, right now, I've got a great team around me, and all through my career, you know, I've been lucky enough to build those relationships, and the relationships we have with our co-workers are the most important relationships we have, because it's got to be a trust. And without that trust, you know, you will fall down and you will fail. So yes, there are moments when I just think, oh my God, you know, what am I doing? You know, but you can do it. And it's all back to confidence, isn't it? I think everything we're talking about is about that.
What more I mean, when we spoke in the panels, like who needs to make the change? Is the people with power and money. You're one of those people, and you're heading like a huge catalog of music. There's this project. Do you have other plans? Is there anything you took away from the panels today, like small changes you can make to help the development go in the right way?
Yeah, I think whenever you hear somebody else's story, it's it has an impact. I mean, I genuinely do feel more of a responsibility since I listened to the panels, and we can always do more. But what I'd like to do is do more outside of Universal as well. So I know we're nailing it inside Universal Production Music because we've got this project and we can do better. And we do projects, you know, in other areas as well. You know, we're looking at the environment, we're looking at making green music, you know, which is also a hugely important thing to do. So we are doing other things in other areas as well. But I think we need to be, we need to put our head up, you know, even higher, you know, to make a difference.
What would you say to your younger self? What advice would you give to yourself starting out your career, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't change a thing, actually. And I quite like the fact of my naivety, because I had absolutely no idea. And to be honest with you, 3 years ago, if you'd have said to me, you'll be the president of UPM, I'd have gone, no, absolutely joking. You know, so I think that's healthy to have that naivety. And I think it's good not to know what the next step is. You've just got to take every opportunity. And I literally took every opportunity. I mean, I worked 7 days a week. I worked on a makeup counter whilst I was a receptionist at the LSO. You know, I gigged. I was a musician, played the saxophone in a jazz band. I did just absolutely everything. Yeah.
And finally, this project, 100% Her, was actually initiated by a Swede, you told me.
It was, and that's what I was referring to earlier, that, you know, it's really important for people in my position, managers, to listen to their team. And yeah, it's all down to Dina Lieberg, who is somewhere in the audience today. There she is.
Come down to the stage, Dina.
Dina worked in the UK office when I was the MD of the UK, and I'd only worked for the company, I don't know, a couple of months, and Dina walked into my office and said, "We've got a problem. You know, we've not got enough female writers in our catalogue, and we need to do something about it." And she had this amazing idea, and she'd found a sort of charity that we could possibly work with. And the enthusiasm, she was just absolutely effervescent. And how could I not listen? And then when she gave me the stats, it was, I couldn't believe that I didn't know that. But I was so grateful to you, Dina, for bringing that project to life. And this is what it's become. So thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting this today, but I found out like a few hours ago. I'm not even dressed to sit in a panel today. But that doesn't matter, because what matters is that if you have an idea and if you present your idea, take that risk, you meet the right people, things can happen. This was 2018, I presented this idea. 2019, we had the first album, 100% Her. And now it's 2023, and look. Loads have happened, and this is just the beginning. So I must say that everything that happened with 100% Her when we started it was about collaboration. It was about, you know, hard work. It was about that people took it seriously, but also about, you know, telling the statistics. I'm always talking about the statistics, because that is what you can really show for people who, even here in Sweden, say, oh, we don't need that. We're such an equal country. I moved back to Sweden in 2021. We started up She Said So Sweden here. And people are like, why do we do that here? We don't need that here. But we have heard here today why we still need this here. And I think that we can just continue to work, and we have to believe in ourselves and take those risks. And maybe in 2033, we will do a roundup and see what the statistics are then. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jane Carter. Thank you, Dina. And thank you to the audience. Thank you.